Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's jump into a wild story from a community center gym where a routine rule enforcement turns into a full-blown confrontation. A dad, let's call him Mr. Karen, brings his young child into the fitness area and lets him use the equipment, which is against the rules for anyone under 14. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Mr. Karen loses mind when I won't let his kid ride an exercise bike. I work part-time at a community center fitness area. Most of the time, the people are lovely. We have regulars, and it's nice to see them. They work out, they clean up after themselves, they leave. It's great. Some days it gets annoying. The community center is directly attached to a local high school. The very nice pool often holds high school swim meets and water polo matches and whatnot. To get to the pool observation deck, one must cut through said fitness center. On a game or meet day, a lot of people who normally wouldn't have access to our very large, expansive gym with super expensive equipment can suddenly be in the building and causing all kinds of trouble. I only mention this because you have to be extra careful to enforce rules on these days in case some stranger decides to try and deadlift 400 pounds and breaks a fibula or something. This was one of those days. Mr. Karen's a fellow I've never seen. No biggie, new member perhaps, day pass maybe. He has a small child with him. My estimation is the child is 5-ish. The man's in jeans and a sweater. This seems strange, but who the hell am I to judge what people exercise in? Our rules pretty explicitly state that children cannot use any equipment unless they're above age 14. From 8 and above, they're welcome to use our track as long as a guardian's in the building. The man and kid are on bikes. To be fair, the kid isn't being a jerk. That happens a lot too. Kids will run in like psychos and try to use a rower and inevitably squish a finger or drop a weight. So props to him, I guess. I walk up and apologize and tell him the kid can't be on the equipment, but he's more than welcome to use the track. Mr. Karen loses his mind. MK, why? He's not doing anything. Me, you're right, but it's our rules. I'm sorry. Kids have to be older than 8 to use our track unsupervised, but he can't be on our equipment. MK, yelling now, how do you know he's not 8? Me, looking at him like he's nuts. MK, you assumed his age. I can do whatever I want. Me, I did assume. I'm sorry. He certainly isn't over 14, so he can't be on equipment. He asks for my manager, who tells him the same thing and says this classic line, I don't pay $1,000 a year to be a member here for you to tell me what I can and can't do. He then asks for the Park and Rec city manager's contact. We give it to him. He tells me to F all the way off, and he leaves. Later, I tell my other boss about this. They go down to registration to see who this dude is. Turns out, not a member. They have no record of it. Most likely came to watch water polo. So he freaked out and lied to try and get his way. He sucks. How bizarre to have a rule that prevents young kids from using equipment that they're too small, too physically underdeveloped, and/or completely untrained to use safely? How dare you? And our second story. Water Park Karen. This summer, I was working as an operations manager at a small water park overseeing a team of about 30 people. It was the usual busy day, nearing capacity with 1,500 guests, when the inevitable happened. A storm rolled in. Now, if you've ever been to an outdoor pool, you know that any sign of lightning within 10 miles means we shut the pool down for safety, and that's exactly what we did. We had all the warnings in place, a sign at the entrance about potential weather closures, several notices saying no refunds for weather-related closures in multiple languages, and our cashiers verbally informing everyone entering the park. But of course, there are always people who choose to ignore the signs. The storm didn't directly hit us, but the lightning was close enough to set off our Thor guard, so I had my team clear the area. While this was happening, one of my cashiers came up to me and said, "There's a woman at the front demanding a refund, and she specifically said she wants to speak to someone higher up, not a dumb teenager manager." I rolled my eyes because at that point I knew exactly what I was walking into, a full-blown Karen situation. Sure enough, there she was, standing at the entrance with her arms crossed, radiating impatience. "This is bullcrap," she opened with. "I got here 20 minutes ago, and now I'm getting kicked out. I want a refund." I tried to calmly explain that everyone was warned about the weather policy upon entering, and she shot back with, "No one told me." I reassured her that my staff had done their jobs correctly, having sat there for the last 4 hours hearing them repeat the warning to every single guest. "Sweetie, people can make mistakes," she replied in a condescending tone. She then gave me the classic Karen resume flex. "I manage cashiers at 77 different retail stores, so you should listen to me. I know what I'm talking about." I countered, "Being a cashier at a pool is different than in a retail store. We have to deal with weather concerns." She kept hammering in that good managerial strategy means accepting that staff can make mistakes. I shot back, "And it's an even better managerial strategy to stand by your staff." At that point, one of my cashiers, clearly fed up, yelled, "Stop calling him sweetie. It's really awkward." It caught Karen off guard, and she actually thanked the cashier by name before revealing that she had been recording the entire interaction on her phone, smugly adding, "I don't use bad words like a-hole." This, mind you, was after she had already called the situation bullcrap. The tension built even more when she spotted a water bottle in the lost and found that was covered in weed and gun stickers. She picked it up and announced loudly to the people around her, "See, they're too high to know what lightning or thunder even is." It was a ridiculous accusation, but that didn't stop her from pushing her narrative. Finally, after much back and forth, she smugly said, "This is why I would never hire you," to which I quickly replied, "And this is why you'll never work for the city named Park District." Her face lit up in this weird sense of triumph like she'd won some kind of battle, and she strutted off. Ironically, just 5 minutes later, we decided to close the pool for the rest of the day and gave rain checks to everyone still waiting around. If she'd stuck around just a little longer, she would have gotten one herself. 2 days later, I showed up for my next shift, and the lifeguard manager ran over to me. "Dude, did you see the reviews?" Karen had gone full keyboard warrior and left 3 separate Google reviews across different accounts, specifically calling me out. My boss, being the chill guy he is, just laughed it off and told me not to worry about it. Not only did I avoid any trouble, but I actually earned more respect from my team for standing up to her. In the end, Karen didn't get her refund, didn't get me fired, and her attempts to bring me down backfired gloriously. All she got was an angry walk back to her car, while I got the satisfaction of keeping my team and job intact. Seeing that shed get torn down felt like sweet, sweet victory. And our next story. HOA President feels entitled in my backyard. So I moved into this house about a year ago. Nice suburban area that's near several schools. There's a lot of activity here. At the time of move-in, the backyard only had 2 parts fenced, so we built up the rest of the fences to enclose the backyard. During this time, we also learned that one of the existing fences has a gate that allows our backyard neighbor access to our backyard. At first, we just shrugged at this because it isn't entirely unusual, especially if the gate or fence was built before our house existed. However, one day when we're in the backyard, a man, now known as the backyard neighbor, comes through the gate without and into our yard. There was no hello or asking for permission. He just waltzed in as if that was automatically okay. I had my back to the fence at the time, so was noticeably startled when a random man appeared behind me. He introduced himself and was friendly. We learned that he's president of the HOA. Right? We couldn't avoid it. And the gate exists because he was friends with the previous homeowners. Their kids would often toss balls into the backyard, so the gate allowed them to easily retrieve the toys. Important to remember, his kids are all now well into high school or fully grown. We chat a bit, all amicable. The next day, it still just didn't sit well with me that he felt comfortable coming into our yard without permission, so I found a lock and put it on the gate. The latch is on our side. I work from home and really want to make sure I keep myself and home safe and secure. Things are quiet for a while until a few weeks later I get a notification on the backyard security camera. When I check, I'm expecting to see a squirrel or some other animal, but actually see a person. I go to the windows overlooking the backyard and see that a teenage girl is in my yard and retrieving something from the utility corner. We hadn't yet finished the gate, so she was able to just walk into the yard, didn't even ring my bell or knock on the door for permission. Even worse, I see her dad, same guy as before, looking over the fence and laughing about it all. The girl even tries to use the utility box to climb over the fence, bending them in the process. At this point, the dad sees me watching them and can tell I'm furious. After a bit, the girl decides to just walk back around the block. I decide to keep this event in my pocket as leverage for some future event or conversation. Seriously, though, WTH. As of yesterday, the backyard neighbor was asking about trimming some of our branches that are over his fence. We discussed and we'll get a tree trimmer hired. During this convo, he kept saying, "Oh, I'd like to take care of it myself, but the padlock doesn't let me into your yard," or "Just a heads up that there might be some balls coming into your yard. We'd get them ourselves, but the padlock's on the gate." Just crap like that. I said something about how we don't have an issue trimming the branches ourselves and can toss the balls back, or they can knock on our door to get into the yard. I'm just absolutely flabbergasted how he feels so entitled to our yard. Like, for some reason, the trust in a stranger came when we purchased the house? No way, dude, you're nuts. And your kids are grown. Be more careful where the ball goes. I think this guy just wants a bigger yard. He doesn't have the size yard he wants, so feels free to use yours too. Pretty flippin' nervy, if you ask me. And our last story. Entitled mom accuses me of stealing, so I eject her from the property. My mom owns a farm, and every year she has a community day where various people volunteer to entertain the local children. I have a face paint stall where for 3 hours I paint faces for free with my own materials. An hour into it, EM enters the scene and asks me whether I've seen her daughter's phone. I say I saw a pinkish phone on the table, but that was a while ago, and I don't know where it is now. Turns out that was her daughter's phone, so naturally, she then accuses me of stealing it. I told her she can check my bag as I haven't left this seat for ages. She searches my phoneless bag and then accuses a volunteer face painter of being in cahoots with me to steal the phone. It goes back and forth like this for a while, me denying, her accusing. She ends up being so belligerent that I tell her to leave the property. She screams at me, telling me that a 22-year-old cannot evict her. She says she wants to see the owner of the property. We find the owner and she freaks out when I say, "Hi, Mom, can you kick this woman out?" She left in haste, cursing me. Edit. I don't know what happened to the phone, but the experience did teach me 2 lessons. Karens look just like regular folk. Don't let their normal appearance fool you. They're nuts. Just really. Why would you as an adult who's painting faces want to steal some kid's phone? I'd probably have given her some snarky answer like, "Oh, I needed a pink phone for my collection." Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.